What can you tell us about what you're working on there in the studio?
Say that again, sorry.
What can you tell us about what you're working on there in the studio, or is it you keep?
I'm actually just working on. I do these rock and roll fantasy camps,
Oh yeah.
um, and I don't know if you've heard of them. They do them all around America, and I've done like 3 or 4 of them. And one of the guys in one of the camps I did in Las Vegas, he wanted to record some of his tracks, and he called me and asked me if I'd play on like 3, 4, 5 tracks. So that's what I'm doing in the studio, just helping him out and kind of recording all the stuff for him.
Fantastic. Before we kick off, we got word down here that John Anderson's not in the best of health at the moment.
No, he seems to be getting much better though. From what I can gather, he's kind of like he was in hospital for a couple of days, but I think he's back home now, and he's kind of like doing much better. So
Oh, that's good
the
news.
tour's about 6 weeks away, so hopefully he'll be in good shape.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's fantastic. Well, just to start, I'll try not to test your memory too much this afternoon, if we can. But I believe the piano was your first instrument of choice. Is that right?
Say it again. You keep breaking up a little bit.
I
Go
believe
ahead.
I believe the piano was your first instrument of choice as a youngster.
Yes, from the age of 6, I played piano from the age of 6, and then when I was about 12, my uncle was a drummer, so he gave me a drum kit, and then I kind of adapted both of the things together. So it was kind of like interesting how I developed the piano skills into drumming as well. So
You had a very percussive style on the piano, I believe.
yes, exactly. Yeah, he said, "Well, the way you're playing is so percussive, I think you're going to break the keyboard. So might as well get you some drums so you can get all that energy out."
So, who were the first drummers that really inspired you to take it seriously?
Who the inspiration?
The
Yeah.
the first drummers, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much first off was like Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, and all that kind of stuff, and then it developed into, at a very early age in my teens, I started listening to more fusion kind of jazz, rock and jazz mixed together, and taking a lot of different styles from different areas and trying to adapt it into one individual kind of like style myself. So I listened to jazz, I listened to, Lenny White, I used to listen to Ringo and all that kind of stuff. But I'd take in as much as possible from all different kinds of areas. Steve Gadd and Lenny White and all those guys as they were coming up. They all were great players. And I kind of soaked that in and tried to adapt it all into one style.
You worked with a wide array of people before you got the call to work with John Lennon. How do you look back on those very early experiences now in terms of your grounding as a musician?
Boy, yeah, I work with a lot of different people. Yeah, Ginger Baker. I mean, being in Ginger Baker's band was like great for me. It was like there was 4 drummers in the band, and so it was like a battle between 4 drummers half the time. But it was like cool competition, and then Joe Cocker. That was another big band I played with. Where it really was a learning experience of how to play with 2 drummers on stage. And Jim Kelton is a great drummer, and he actually taught me a lot in the early days how to be very forgiving for another drummer if you're playing with 2 drummers on stage. But when the 2 drummers lock in together, there's nothing like it.
Now, the stories of the Plastic Ono band rehearsing for the first time on that airplane trip to Toronto are etched in music history now. But at the time, as a young musician, with this being your first major break of such, how did it feel preparing for such an important gig in I guess, such a haphazard way?
Yeah, I know it was pretty crazy because I actually thought as a drummer and a musician that I was so young at the time. I was about 20 years old, and I thought, well, this is what happens. You become a rock star kind of overnight, and and stuff like that happens, And but being thrust into that kind of spotlight and playing with people like Eric Clapton and John, and after all of the history that they both went through by that time, it was like pretty overwhelming, and I just took it in with stride because I thought it was a natural progression. But only years later, I looked back on that and thought, wow, did I really do all that stuff? It's like it's pretty amazing.
Now, your drumming on the Instant Karma recording, it was such a prominent part of that recording. It was almost a lead instrument. What do you recall of that session?
I just recall Phil Spector getting into his kind of, he was known for creating these huge, massive sounds of playing, like, instead of one tambourine, he put like 15 tambourines on it, and then instead of one piano, I remember John and myself playing the piano, and then Gary Wright and Klaus Willman playing the other piano, and we all recorded the song together, all just pounding on the keyboards. But when I came up with a drum break, I was experimenting at the time about doing drum breaks that weren't in a natural kind of feel. It was like you'd have one meter that the song was in, but when the drum break came, you played it in another meter. And I was experimenting with that a lot because I had my own band in England that experimented a lot with different time signatures, which was a great setup, really, for me to kind of be prepared for playing with somebody like Yes. So John always used to turn around and tell me, he never told me, in every recording I ever did, he never told me what to play. He said, whatever you do now, it's great, just keep doing what you're doing. And so I just experimented, and they all loved it. I mean, he loved it especially. He said, no, that drum break's great, man, just keep doing it. And I guess that's where it all came from.
You also recorded with George Harrison. How did John and George compare to work with in the studio environment?
Actually, both of them were relatively quiet, considering. John was a little bit more outspoken about what he wanted all the time, and but George was very quiet and kind of just used to take things in, and then he'd go talk it over with Phil Spector, and come up with another plan for something if it wasn't working. But he was a real sweetheart. I mean, George was just a great guy. I mean, and so was John too. I mean, all the stories and what people write into what they were and what they were doing is once you got to know them, and the kind of, there was almost like a family kind of clique, where if you were accepting into the Beatles kind of like circle of friends kind of thing, you found out what it was very quickly, and everybody was just really, really great.
Actually, over the years, I've spoken to others that played on the All Things Must Pass album, and most of them, or all of them, speak of it as one of the most pleasurable recording experiences of their life. Was it that way for you too?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we used to just turn up at the studio for 3 weeks. We all turned up at Abbey Road Studios, and everybody just plugged in or did whatever. And Ringo was there one day. I remember like My Sweet Lad and things like that, where George wanted me to play drums, and I said, well, George, I said, Ringo's here, he can play this part. I said, it's really not that difficult. And he said, no, I want you to play drums, and Ringo played tambourine, so it's kind of weird playing the kit, and Ringo standing next to me playing the tambourine.
So when you got the call to join Yes, were you already a fan of the band?
Yeah, I'd seen the band on stage at Wembley Pool, and I also was sharing an apartment with Eddie Offord, we shared an apartment in London. He was the producer for Yes, and he knew what my capabilities were and stuff like that. So I went down to rehearsal one time, and then I'm kind of at rehearsals for the album for Close to the Edge, actually, and Bill had to leave because I think he was on the edge of leaving to go join King Crimson, and they had me, he left, so Eddie said, why don't you sit and play the drums? So I sat down and played the Siberian Couture was the track, and I guess that left an impression on the band, and they also, a couple of the band members had also seen me play with Joe Cocker and stuff like that, so as soon as Bill left, they wanted me to join, so it was pretty interesting.
So were you keen at that stage to get yourself into a settled band type situation?
Yes. The band like Yes is, everybody in the band is so talented, and I guess, just one of the best in their field. And to be held in respect like that because of playing with a band like this, because we took on a lot of challenges of a lot of different music, a bit of a rebel band throughout their life, basically, and we always tried to come up with different things and just make something different the whole time and be progressive. But I guess it still works because people are dying to see the band on stage again.
That's right. Now, you did join on a trial basis originally, though. Was there some tentativeness as to whether or not it would be a good match?
Well, that was my choice, really. They wanted me to join the band, and I said, well, look, let's just, I'll give you guys 3 months, and you give me 3 months, and see if the whole thing works. Because, but I think the band was actually looking for somebody who held down a kind of more of a solid kind of rhythm that was able to play all the different time signatures and stuff like that at the same time. So I guess it worked. I'm still here 37 years later, or whatever it is.
How would you describe the differences between yourself and the drummer you replaced, Bill Bruford?
Well, Bill's much more of a top kit kind of player, and very much he was getting into this jazz kind of feel, which I can do to a certain extent and but at the same time the music needed some solidarity, so I tried to add that as well as being able to play all of the intricate kind of stuff on the top kit. So that's basically the difference between the two of us.
Yeah. If you had to choose one Yes album to place in a time capsule to show future generations what the band was about, which album for you sits as the best example?
Oh boy! Now you're like picking a big kind of area to deal with right there. I think as far as drumming and bass playing goes, I think Relay was a great album that we made.
Yeah.
Plus, oh boy! I mean, I actually enjoy some of the later stuff, like the Talk album was one of my favorites too, which we did with Trevor Rabin, and The Ladder had some great songs on it, and Telegraphic was such an experience making the whole thing that you can't forget something like that. So it's kind of vast. It's really hard to pinpoint one because they're all kind of it's the same band, but it's different eras in the band's life. So I just had my favorites from every album.
Sure. The band has not been without its fair share of lineup changes through the years. Has this been unsettling at any stage at all?
Say again, sorry?
There's been a fair share of lineup changes in the band through the years. Has that been unsettling at any time at all?
Not really, because, it just seemed people wanted to do their own thing for a while, so we just kept on going. So I guess Chris Squire and myself kind of just kept on being in the band and carried it forward the whole time. And I remember one time from the period with Drama, for instance, when John wasn't involved with the band, we did the whole thing with Trevor Horn and Jeff Downs from the Buggles, and I think we all just said to each other and we found, okay, we've got a rehearsal studio booked for writing some new music for our next album, and whoever turns up, I guess, is in the band. So sometimes it was kind of like that.
Now, the most commercially successful time for the band was that early 80s period with the 90125 album. How do you look back on that time there? Because it was a massive shift in direction for the band's sound.
Yeah, because Trevor Rabin got involved, and he's such a talented guy. And he had a lot of material. And we actually were going to call the band Cinema for a long time. And we actually recorded most of 90125. And then John heard some of the music and liked it so much he wanted to come in and sing on some of the tracks. So he came in, and really, when you heard the tracks with all of us playing, you couldn't call it anything else but the next S album. So we were just on a different adventure and kind of went through a kind of, it was almost like a mental change for the band. But then at the same time, you come out the other end looking at it and going, well, it was the most successful album the band's ever had.
Yeah, that's right. Now, the band's about to celebrate a 40th anniversary, and it's certainly outlasted a lot of other bands of a similar genre that emerged in that progressive rock era. Can you put a finger on what it is that's seen the band outlast a lot of other bands of that type?
I really don't know. I think when somebody cares about so much of a project that you're doing, and, yes, it's been part of my life, basically. It's like having a love affair with 4 or 5 other guys the whole time. So it's like, it just becomes part of your life, and I guess things get torn apart, and it's a very yin-yang kind of situation when people don't agree and then they agree. But I think out of that disagreement becomes something that is good in the end. And then I guess that's part of the survival of Yes, is everybody's always been, they agree, but they agree to disagree. I think that's in one of the songs we wrote. We agree to disagree. And I guess that makes the longevity better because everybody's striving for the same thing, to create the best they can. And the band certainly paid a lot of attention to a lot of detail about what they did the whole time, and I think that's part of the longevity.
Do you think each of the guys having outside projects to work on as well has helped keep the band fresh when you do get back together?
Say again, sorry.
Do you think having outside musical projects to work on as well has helped keep Yes fresh when you do get together for work?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it worked a lot. Everybody has their own release of stuff, material that wouldn't be appropriate for Yes. So everybody gets that out of the system. So when they get back into Yes, then they bounce off each other and create something that's different and Yes music.
How does the band differ on stage for you these days as to the early days?
I don't think it differs much at all. In fact, the last two we did, I thought the band played as good as it ever did. And we were having so much fun and just playing some of the stuff we played for years and years and years. And it's almost like riding on a bicycle, but at the same time you just get into it every night because you love playing that kind of music, because every night it's a kind of challenge to play all that stuff.
Now, there is a major tour coming up to celebrate the 40th anniversary. Where is that going to take you?
Well, we start in Quebec, Canada, and I guess we go to Toronto, and then we basically touring around Australia, and then I think we're finishing up, and they're actually looking at doing Europe, but I don't know whether we're going to do Europe before Christmas or maybe after Christmas. And of course, with the World Tour, we'll probably go to South America and Australia and Asia, the whole thing again.
Oh, fantastic!
But it's adventurous. I'm just looking forward to it.
So another Australian visit is on the cards then?
No, Australia's going to be in there, I'm pretty sure.
Fantastic. Oh, that's great news. Is the road still an enjoyable experience for you after all these years?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes after all these years, the traveling gets to you more than anything. The best part about the day is playing on stage in the evening and just like performing for people. That's my best part of my day. The traveling gets to you a little bit, but it's part of my job, I guess.
Yeah, if you could just snap your fingers and be there, it'd be a lot better, wouldn't
it? Yes, exactly. And yeah.
What about new studio material from the band? Is there anything in the works there?
Well, there's a couple of songs that are kind of floating around right now that we might include on a DVD that they seem to want to make this next tour. So we will just have to see how that develops. John got kind of sick a little bit, so I was just letting him kind of get over it for a little while here.
Yeah.
But I'm actually going to England in June to start rehearsals with Chris and Steve.
Oh, fantastic. And before I let you go, I'd need to ask you about your other project, Circa.
With Circa?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love playing with that band. It's a real challenge to play with. Like, yes, it's a lot of complex kind of stuff, but the band is actually great on stage. I've really been enjoying it. And Billy Sherwood has done a great job of developing something new. It's kind of like a side step from Yes, but similar vein kind of thing. So I really enjoy playing it.
So what are the plans for that band in the near future?
I actually just talked to Billy today, and I guess he's getting some kind of new management kind of guy involved and stuff like that. So I guess if we don't tour with Yes at the end of the year, I guess I'm going to tour with Circa doing some shows here in America.
And just one thing before I let you go, any regrets at all, Alan? Anything, if you could go back and change, you would?
Oh, not at all. It's just been a great career in music because to challenge yourself to play kind of Yes music and be part of that kind of whole thing is really a whole kind of number. And I wouldn't have had anything else. I just enjoyed the whole ride. It was great. It was really fantastic. And I'm still looking forward to the next few years. We're going to be plowing on.
Fantastic, that's great news. Well, congratulations on a fantastic career so far and plenty more to come, we're sure, and we will keep our fingers crossed that we do get to see Yes down here again in the not too distant future.
All right, well, I'll make sure of telling management we have to go there.
That'd be great. Thanks for your time, Alan.
By the way, I love Melbourne, actually. You've got a lot of great English kind of pubs there.
We have? Yeah. That was a great show. In 2003 or it was 2003 you were here, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it was great.
It was a fantastic show. We
loved
loved it. Okay,
that's fantastic. Looking forward to coming back.
We'll be here waiting for you.
All right, man.
Okay, thanks a lot, Alan. I'll let you get back to work.
Speak to you soon.
Okay,
thanks a lot, man. Bye bye.
Bye bye.